For centuries, the Arctic was a frozen fortress, shrouded in myth and nearly impossible to reach. But now, the world is warming, and the ice is melting at an unprecedented rate. The melting ice is unlocking a region rich with possibilities. Suddenly, the Arctic is a strategic chessboard, with nations like Russia, China, and the United States vying for position. The race for the Arctic has begun, and the stakes are enormous. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. The great game of the 21st century is unfolding not in the deserts of the Middle East, but in the icy waters of the far north. The melting Arctic is creating two massive opportunities: new shipping routes and access to buried treasure. The northern sea route along Russia's coast can cut Asia-Europe shipping times by nearly 40%. Control over these new routes means economic and strategic advantage. But the real prize lies beneath the waves. The Arctic may hold 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its natural gas. As the ice melts, it becomes easier to explore and drill for these resources. The seabed is also rich in rare earth elements: diamonds, gold, nickel, and zinc, crucial for modern technology. For centuries, these resources were locked away by ice. Now, they're within reach. The Arctic is being called the world's last great resource frontier. The rush to claim these riches is fueling competition among nations and corporations. No country has more at stake in the Arctic than Russia. With the world's longest Arctic coastline, Russia sees the region as its own backyard. The northern sea route runs almost entirely within Russia's control, giving Moscow leverage over global shipping. Russia is investing billions in ports, infrastructure, and a massive military buildup not seen since the Cold War. Old Soviet bases are being revived, new air defenses deployed, and a fleet of nuclear-powered icebreakers is being built. Russia's Arctic Command oversees these forces, projecting power across the region. Large-scale military exercises send a clear message: Russia is the dominant Arctic power. The motive is clear: control the shipping lanes, protect resource projects, and assert Russia's status as a great power. For President Putin, a strong Arctic presence is a symbol of national resurgence. The Arctic is central to Russia's economic and strategic ambitions. Moscow is determined to defend its interests, by force if necessary. China, though far from the Arctic, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is rapidly expanding its presence. The lure faster shipping routes to Europe and access to Arctic resources. China's Polar Silk Road is an extension of its Belt and Road Initiative, investing in Arctic infrastructure and shipping. Chinese research vessels and stations gather data, while Beijing invests in projects like Russia's Yamal LNG. As an observer at the Arctic Council, China gains influence in regional decisions. Its economic diplomacy is patient and strategic, aiming to secure a stake in the Arctic's future. But China's ambitions are viewed with suspicion. Some fear economic leverage could turn into political or even military influence. The United States and others are wary of China's growing shadow over the melting ice. The dragon's reach is extending north. The United States was slow to recognize the Arctic's importance, but that's changing. The U.S. is boosting its military presence in Alaska and investing in new icebreakers. NATO, with new members Finland and Sweden, now sees the Arctic as a strategic frontier. The alliance is increasing patrols and exercises to counter Russia's buildup. Canada, Denmark, and Norway are also modernizing their Arctic defenses and asserting sovereignty. The Arctic Council, including all 8 Arctic nations, has been a forum for cooperation and environmental protection. But rising tensions are straining this spirit of collaboration. Security and defense are now at the forefront of Arctic discussions. The region's future will depend on whether cooperation or competition prevails. The balance of power in the Arctic is shifting fast. The Arctic is home to about 4 million people, including many indigenous groups like the Inuit, Sami, and Nenets. For them, the melting ice is a threat, not an opportunity. Traditional hunting and fishing are disrupted, and permafrost thaw is damaging homes and infrastructure. Increased shipping, drilling, and military activity bring pollution and risk catastrophic oil spills. Indigenous communities face the danger of being caught in geopolitical crossfire. Yet, they are organized and demanding a voice in Arctic decisions. Indigenous organizations are permanent participants in the Arctic Council, advocating for environmental protection and cultural rights. They insist that development must be sustainable and include their consent. The Arctic is not just a resource frontier, it's a homeland that must be protected. Their message, the future of the Arctic, must include those who have lived there for millennia. The Arctic's melting ice has unlocked a new world of opportunity and risk. At stake, global trade, trillions in resources, and the balance of power. The future could go two ways. One path, cooperation, nations working together through law and forums like the Arctic Council, protecting the environment and indigenous rights. The other, conflict, militarization, aggressive claims, and environmental disaster. The world faces a crucial question: who will write the rules for the top of the world? Will it be the strongest militaries, the richest economies, or the international community? Will indigenous voices be heard? The answer will shape the 21st century. The Arctic's fate hangs in the balance. Who ultimately will claim the melting north?